Hi, I'm Bethany, and this is Disability Talk, where we serve you delicious disability morsels so you can have disability information and don't have to talk to people disabled like us about these questions. Welcome, Cass. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you. Before we go on, we're going to just introduce our pronouns and then audio describe. And then we're going to do our questions per usual. I'm Bethany, a white femme, little woman using a wheelchair with very colorful makeup on, including a pink lip. And I have lips all over my crop top, although you cannot see my belly. Sadly, behind me are two shelves, the top of which has an amethyst, and it has a black and white sign saying, "A riot is the language of the unheard." The second shelf has a crystal penis and a pierced nipple because of Cassandra's and mine shared love for sexuality. Um, Behind me on the wall are hanging scarves and a hermit flag and some necklaces, as well as a condom bag, because again, sexual health is a key passion of mine. And you?
Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah.
Um, my pronouns are they, them. I have long, dark brown hair with teeny tiny micro bangs. My background is a galaxy rainbow, I guess you could call it.
Very
So
nice.
it goes from dark purple, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, with white stars sprinkled across it. I am wearing a purple lip with teal, bright teal, I guess, eyeliner, and a necklace that says pills, ponies, pussy, pain. Black top with uh, strings holding it up, I suppose. Is that good? Okay.
Very strappy.
Yeah, strappy. There we go. It's very strappy. We like straps.
Mhm. Yeah, I forgot that I have hair, y'all. So I medium length brown hair. So that is something. Still working on those audio descriptions. And I really want to thank Crip Camp Virtual for pushing me in that regard. And I hope we'll get to hear about that in this interview with Cassandra. But first question for you is, how does your disability or disability in general relate to your passion in life?
So I have always been disabled, but I didn't know it, as many of us don't when we start growing up. And uh, I knew I was different, but I didn't know in what way. And it kind of, okay, not kind of, it definitely made me feel like an outsider for a long time. And so I had that sort of, I feel like an outsider, an outcast, a um, uh, words of that nature. Um, how do I bridge the gap between feeling on the outside to the world on the inside? And over the years, that became a passion for accessibility. And that could mean anything from inclusivity to the actual physical accessibility of spaces, or the accessibility of a website, or the accessibility of a sex toy, or the accessibility of language. It's a wide array of things that accessibility covers.
Yeah.
So I just became very passionate about making the world a better place for lots of people. Universal design is a big part of that. And inclusivity to me is maybe sometimes a better word for accessibility, because
Mm.
lots of people like to talk about accessibility as a thing that is sort of the sole um, what's the word, stomping grounds, I guess, for disabled people, but it covers so many other things. It covers economic justice, it covers educational justice, it covers um, uh, um, childcare, so many things. And if we cannot access um, whatever it may be because of um, um, a limitation, a um, lack of accommodation, um, then it's an access issue. It's a lack of inclusivity. And my goal is to um, change those things and to make organizations, companies
That's
um, more aware that we can make our events and our spaces and our groups more welcoming, more accommodating, more accessible for more people.
I love this because even though these are going to be posted all which way in time, this is coming on the heels, our interview is coming on the heels of the celebration of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So 30 years of us litigating for access to pee and these very fundamental rights. And what you are talking about is a real revolution where we move from simple letter of the law of accommodations to start thinking creatively. And that's what's so exciting about access, is that when we start thinking about access creatively, it's like we are not reinventing the wheel. We're using that wheel and we're adding on it together to make a space better. And it's just, oh, it's that's what's thrilling, because I got sad about the ADA celebration because we haven't seen as much change as my zealous little heart would like to see. So I kind of felt like I was sad on the day, but Crip community and like creative access is just, it's beautiful. So talking about sex toys, for example, it's, that is just one of the most interesting things to try to figure out with people, reachers and all of the things. So I definitely do want to hear, I hope you will talk more about your work with sexuality. Maybe we can just say that you just won a big deal award with an Adobe and Crip Camp, which by the way, my nails are purple and I love them. They're by Essie. I love Essie because it's a right price for a good pigment. But you just won an award, Adobe, with Crip Camp, where you're going to be getting a nice sum of cash and you are going to be mentored by one of the giants in the field, Alice Shepard, a biracial queer woman epic dancer. Please do Google her. And I'm just curious how you're feeling about that, and what exactly are they funding? What is that part of your passion?
So, first of all, thank you to Crip Camp and to the Adobe Foundation for picking me as one of their 12 fellows. Super
Yes.
excited and grateful and thankful. Um, what they're going to be funding is my work, specifically with accessibility. And that's going to be covering. So I've been working on these accessibility guides for a few years now, and we are I'm at the point where I'm ready to get these guides published, and I want to get them translated. I want to get them um, available in multiple formats. I want to be able to uh, get them released in audio format with, or audio video, I should say, multimedia, with CART and interpreters. So I'm looking to be able to, um, this doesn't come for free, you know? And so one of the things that's been holding back getting these released into the world is the inability to pay the people that need to get paid to release these things. And the once they're out, they'll be available on the Disability and Sexuality Access Network's website. And yeah, yay! And
Yes.
that's one of the organizations that I co-founded with Amber DePietra. And so part of, well, rather, the reason we co-founded that is because we realized that the sexuality world really needs to be integrated with the disability world. The sexuality world is just so inaccessible, and there is just not enough information. There is not enough crossover. There's not enough respect. And oh, I could go on about this for hours, and I don't
There's
want to do
not
that.
enough access
Yeah, there's just not the
to speak
access.
to your main passion. Like
Yeah,
there's lacking communication on both ends where
yeah,
disability communities, aside from, Sins Invalid and these little pockets around the world that are taking this up, there's the disability movement, and there's been a shying away from sex. So it's really necessary work. And out of the 12 folks, you are the sex person. So that is quite the honor. I'm
thank
really
you.
excited for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited for me too.
Yeah, I would hope so. And this actually brings us right, segueing correctly and smoothly without any lubricant needed, into what are the joys and pleasures you get out of being connected to the disabilities and neurodivergent communities, and really just noting that there are multiple communities. So recognizing that there are fractals, as is popular now with the emergent strategy language.
Yeah. So I'd like to say that for a long time, even though I knew that I was disabled, but by the time I knew I was disabled, I was still trying to live like I wasn't. And I didn't have disabled friends. And I was trying to integrate into the non disabled world and just act like everything was normal. And I was miserable. No one understood me. I would get told the worst, ableist things that I'm sure you can imagine some of them. People would just, the total lack of understanding, um, the lack of empathy, the total uh, lack of desire to understand. Um, and eventually I met someone through a through a queer group, actually, um, who happened to be disabled, and was like, you know what, you need disabled friends. Like, you will feel so much better if you
Oh,
have
cool.
community who are like you. And I thought about it and I was like, there might be something to that. And so I started seeking my people out. And this person was so right. And um, I'm not going to say this person's name because I don't have the consent, but it changed my life. And this was just maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was not that
Wow.
long ago. And um, since that happened, my life turned around. I started finding pleasure and joy, um, and started finding my place in the world. And uh, not just through like social interaction. I mean, and I got a ton of pleasure out of that. Um, but I've reached the point now where like this like newbie people come to me, I guess, for lack of a better word, where people are like, I have this new like I have set of symptoms and I don't know what's going on,
Right.
and could you maybe walk me through this? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like
Yeah.
this is and I've helped people as a peer support talk about internalized ableism and talk about uh, disability history as culture and rights, and
Great.
it's inspired me to start putting together a course. And there's just like it, I cannot begin to tell you how much this has changed my life and just brought me so much passion and joy and inspiration and pleasure. And um, it's helped me find myself. Yeah.
Can't believe that this was 5 years ago because you are, I mean, this just speaks to your genius level acquiring of wisdom because I have had you guest lecture in my graduate level clinical classes for social workers, and you have blown their hair back. And I'm just thinking 5 years. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still unlearning and relearning. I'm doing so much of both of those. And that just speaks to the radical potential and power of our community. I mean, and you, I mean, obviously, but it's just like, I don't know who it was on Crip Camp, but they said that through learning to love disability community, they've learned to love themselves. And I think that there's something about that coming home experience.
Yeah.
It's so weird being the only disabled person you know for the majority of your life. It's very, it's a lonely place. So let's talk about not lonely. Let's talk about the future because right now we've got all this time. Well, we've got time because we're disabled, but and we have, even though it is a full-time job to manage these disabilities, we do have a lot of time with chronic pain to do some bed activism and dreaming. So tell me, what are you thinking? What would you like to envision, or what are you envisioning for our disabled future or disability justice future, particularly?
May I tell you about my pet project?
Of course.
Okay. So I am working on building an intentional queer disabled community. And it is all theoretical right now.
I like it.
Um,
Favorite place to start.
yeah, right now it is all in Google Docs. And I'm having a surgery at the end of this week. And then by the end of next month, I'm hoping to release these documents publicly and with like some forms that people can fill out to show their interest and be like, well, where in the country might you want this to happen? And what can you provide, you know, skills wise? And I don't just mean hard skills, but are you like a mediator? Are you a healer? Are
Yes.
what do you do? Um, because I feel that the world is rapidly changing, and we need community now more than ever. And we need our Crip camp, not Crip camp, sorry, our Crip community now more than ever. Crip camp's a part of that.
For sure.
We've seen people coming together more now than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think riding on the momentum of that, being like, hey, let's bring people together, but like, let's make it permanent. Let's find a place that is accessible, or let's find a place that we can somehow make accessible, and let's live together in this very intentional manner and make it an interdependent community where we can call upon the resources around us and advocate for ourselves within that area's government and
I love
get
it.
what we need.
So, like, really taking all the principles of disability justice and putting them into a community.
Yeah.
I really, the idea of skill sharing, particularly because we are potentially moving into late capitalism, start thinking about our skills outside of capitalism. And, I often, I was raised with the idea, and God love my parents, well, one of them anyway, but for encouraging me to focus on my brain. But that was because my body couldn't do anything, right? Which is ableist, and she succumbed to ableism in society. But what are my gifts? A lot of them are speaking, telling stories, bringing people together, sometimes mediating, sometimes starting the fight. But really, I think that idea that your community plan is centered on is so fertile for all of us to be thinking about for the revolution in the future, and thinking about how we all have assets. And I mean, most of us have asses, but like, we have assets. Like, it's cool. You don't need a degree to have value. You
Yeah.
don't need a job to be productive. I think you are preaching the future, and I like it. So thank you. Um, do you have another project you would like to plug, and then tell us where we can find you on the web?
I think I just mentioned all of my main projects somehow in like very condensed time. That was pretty wild of me. Um,
Very nice, very smooth.
I can be found online at connectwithkaz.com. So it's CAZ.com. And the Disability and Sexuality Access Network is at D as in Doug, ASAN as in Nancy. Here it goes. The dyslexia. Help me, please.
It's
Um,
NET.
Thank you.
Yes.
ETWO
Oh, oh,
rk.org. Thank you.
oh,
And it's going to be in the transcript too.
yes, it will. Yes,
Yep.
it will. And there'll be a link also. But
Yeah.
do we want to find you on Instagram as well?
Yep. And I'm on Instagram as Kaz Killjoy, KILLJOY.
Because you are a killjoy of all the oppressive forces of their joy. You are a fighter of good. Doing what God, not God, John Lewis said is good trouble.
Oh,
Yeah, so thank you for your time.
thank you for having me, Bethany.